Welcome to Alley Chats. I'm Rob Southgate, and today I have a really special guest. I have Paul Goodenough. Did I say that right, Paul?
You did. Perfect.
Excellent. Paul, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them who you are. Tell them what you do.
Sure. Well, I actually work across quite a number of things, so it can get a little bit confusing, but I'll try and be as clear as possible. So I run a web studio. So I do a lot of work in games and big web projects. But outside of that, I write and produce for TV, film, comics, books, radio, gags, comedy, all sorts of stuff, really. Principally, though, my love is comics. That's where my passion truly is.
If people could see the video that I'm looking at right now, I know we're doing this audio only, but I see quite a collection of comics and toys behind you. You're one of my people, Paul.
Well, you say that. You think you see quite a collection. This is just the on-show stuff. I've got 20,000 comics and many thousand toys. So yeah, this is just the kind of the tip of the iceberg, as it were.
See, I went through a period where we were living in Minneapolis, and I was able to be full on in my collecting, and I started collecting toys again, and it got really out of control. Then we opened up a retail store, and I ran out of space, and I started having to sell stuff off. Mm-hmm. And now I have a sliver of my toy collection and a sliver of my comic collection, yet it's still a disgusting amount because I love both of them so much. And now with owning a podcast network, I interview, creators all the time. People are always giving me things. I'm like, oh God, I mean, I love it, but oh my God, where's it going to go?
Yeah, I hear you. I've specifically, I mean, you can see, obviously the listeners can't, but I specifically have got over that side of the room. I've got one entire bookshelf for things I've been given by my friends and colleagues in the industry, or projects people want me to look at, or just things that I need to get around to. I'm glad no one can see it because I've got lots of friends who have sent me their stuff who have told them I've read their things. But they clearly haven't been read. They're still over there. So
I think I see some with shrink wrap on it too. So Paul, one of the ways that we got in contact with each other is you worked on Core. And I know we've talked about Core on this show before, but you had a segment in there. Is you being British, was Core something that was a big influence on you when you were younger?
Kind of yes and no. Certainly as a younger kid, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of in that Saturday morning, you go down to the local sweet shop newsagent and you get the issue, and it had like a little moment in time for me. It was very, very much, it's indelibly in my brain with Saturday morning and sweets.
Sure.
Whereas in terms of my passion for comic collecting and storytelling, I was more personally the 2000 AD guy, and Marvel and superheroes. I loved interconnected storytelling. So although in my career I do quite a lot of comedy and work for younger audiences, in terms of the things I like reading, it tends to be sort of a bit more expansive.
I'm with you. Over here, it was Cracked in Mad Magazine when I was a kid, and I have very specific memories of we'd go to the 7-Eleven, which was our sweet shop. We'd go to 7-Eleven and I would pick up, my dad would always let me get a couple of comic books. And if there was a new Cracked or a new Mad, we'd get it. And, that was my thing. And as I got older, it became more about the comics, and then it became more about the indie, interesting comics, zines and things like that I got more into. So,
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. I definitely understand. So, your segment in Core, you did, we're not going to dwell on this. I just wanted to touch on it here. You did Deadly Headley. Is this a character that you had an affinity for, or was it, hey, you got assigned it and you went, great, I'm going to do the Vampire Detective?
Well, it was really lucky, actually. So I've written a few things for Sherlock and Sherlock Holmes over the years. And just in a personal reading sense, I've always been a big fan of detectives and that wonderful sort of way that you can lead an audience down a certain path and then just pull the rug out from underneath them. So by sheer coincidence, Keith just emailed me and said, hey, I've got a few characters here. We're thinking of Deadly Headley. And I'm like, perfect. That was an incredible good shot by you there. Thank you, Keith. So, in terms of it was pure luck. But if I could have chosen, it would have been exactly the character I'd chosen anyway.
Oh, that's perfect. So yeah, I won't go into it, but I will put a link in the show notes so people can check out Core, because if you have kids, it's fantastic. Even without kids, I mean, I have kids, but even as an adult reading it, I had fun reading these. I was like, yeah, I would definitely buy this for nieces and nephews and kids. And it's really fantastic. It's a lot of fun. And it tweaked that Mad Magazine, Cracked Magazine thing in me. So very good. So you've got other projects going on. What have you currently got going?
Well, my life is currently very, very complex. So I'm working on two big projects outside of the comics work, one of which is called The Chimeran, which is a TV show that was created and conceived by myself and a gentleman called Gary Kurtz and Richard Baisley. And Gary was the former producer on Star Wars and Dark Crystal and Empire Strikes Back and a number of other sort of big seminal sci-fi pieces. And Richard Baisley was a former one of the art directors and animation supervisors directors at Disney. So the three of us kind of got together and come up with this quite expansive and quite high budget TV series called The Chimeran that has been kind of, I guess my pet project has been sitting behind all the things that push themselves in front of it. And what we've been fortunate enough to happen now is we've been in and around the Hollywood kind of scene for a little bit, kind of going backs and forwards, and deals have been made and then subsequently didn't happen. Is that now we've got a lot of interest again. We've got ourselves an exec producer. We've got ourselves some money behind the project, which is great. And I can't speak too much about the people involved, but the showrunners are well known for doing similar things. And it's actually sort of getting the traction we've been after, which is great. It did take a bit of a pause. Unfortunately, Gary passed away. And when he passed, both Richard and I had to think very carefully about what we were going to do with it, because what turned out to be Gary's deathbed, we were working a lot of projects together, and it was the only one that he mentioned on his deathbed and said to me, "Paul, please make sure you do a good job on Chimeran." And that's sat with me. To give the listeners a little bit of a background, the idea is it's set in a possible future, but it's not a post-apocalyptic story because those have been done to death. It's a pre-apocalyptic story. So if, for example, Rob, you knew the apocalypse was just around the corner, if you knew there was not enough food, money, or safety to go around, who would you be? Would you be looking to make a small community with people who you can live and work with together? Would you be trying to gather everything you could for yourself? What would that world look like? And the whole story is set against this backdrop of a genetically bred for purpose workforce called the Chimerans. And effectively what they are is taking the best parts of the animal kingdom and splicing them with human beings to create a worker force. The idea is that worker force might then be able to save mankind and produce the right amount of food that we need to survive and also deal with some of the problems of the world. So it's very much a kind of a story reflection on where we're kind of heading now in terms of the extinction level events we're seeing coming up over the hill, and also the way in which we have traditionally subjugated other parts of the culture of the planet, and we've interoperated with each other. So it's quite a reflective piece, but it is core heart. Anyone can watch it as a sci-fi piece.
Very nice. I'm really excited for this. I was even looking at the poster for it. The poster is intriguing, so I'm very excited. Now, where can people check this out? Should they go to the GBK Hybrid website?
The best thing to do, because a lot of it's behind closed doors at the moment, so I'm sure people can understand, the best thing they can do is go to either the Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/The Chimeran, which is TheChimeran, The Chimeran, or follow myself. Basically, I'm effectively the person who's behind this project. I'm on Facebook. That tends to be where I put most of my stuff. It's just Paul.Goodenough. That's where we'll make the launch, I expect. It'll be across social media when we're at the right time. But for now, it's hard sharing stuff because of the nature of it. We've got actors and producers and so on and so forth, who all have very stringent things in place, which means you can't just talk openly.
Yeah, I was involved in a project recently that had to sign some non-disclosure, had to be very careful about who you mentioned and what stage we were at and everything. So I fully understand. I will tell people, though, I will put these in the show notes so they can kind of follow along. I encourage people listening to follow you on social media so that when the announcements happen, or if there are things that people can do to help, you're going to put it there. That way they can jump on board, because I know that this audience is very active. The people that go to Artist Alley that support artists and writers and, creators definitely look for those opportunities. And this sounds like one that people could get behind. Now that's on the film side of things. Are you doing anything in comics right now?
Yeah, actually. So this hasn't been kind of revealed yet, so you're kind of getting a bit of a sneak peek. I'm putting together a really big environmental comics project. So you've probably seen a few benefits books that have been around, like Where We Live,
sure.
and it's kind of a vein of that. But what this project is doing, which is slightly different, is we're taking the most important environmental voices across the planet and putting them with the best storytellers. And between those two people, the output is a comic. So as an example, we've got writers and celebrities like Jane Goodall, Jerome Flynn from Game of Thrones, Selene Henry, and we're putting them in touch with writers and artists like Brian Azzarello, people like Bill Singovich, and then they'll make a collaboration between them. That then gets turned into a comic book, which then is collected into an anthology of all these different stories.
Now, are you planning to do anything with that as far as like a Patreon or some kind of crowdfunding for this?
No. So the idea is what we'll do is we'll have probably about 80 stories, roughly, and about 20 of them will go online as social media stories. When we place them online, the idea is that those social media stories will carry a link on them where people can donate to actually help the environment.
Oh,
the
great.
entire project is all focused on species loss. So we're working with charities across the planet with specifically the projects that will save these species from extinction. So Greenpeace, the World Land Trust, Born Free Foundation, Extinction Rebellion, a reserver, YLT, the Royal Wildlife Trusts, with a number of different charities we're working to. And the idea, all the money comes into a big pot at the top and then devolves down to the projects that can save their lives. And so you can either, as a reader, you can either donate online and 100% of the money goes through to the right charity and the right project, or you can buy the anthology. And again, same deal.
Wonderful. Make sure that I have that for the show notes as well. And as the project comes to fruition, I will definitely spread the word through our social media channels. I'm executive producer on 120 shows, so we have a lot of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook to put that word out. And this sounds like something that I would really get behind. So that's wonderful to hear about, Paul. I'm super excited for that. Okay, we're going to get out of the business area of things for a second. This is your dream con. Who are you most excited to meet?
For me, and I've actually been messaging him recently, so the person I most want to meet in the moment is Brian K. Vaughan. I just adore that guy. I just love how he can subvert a genre and take the core idea that you've read a million times before and just present it to you in a unique and beautiful way. So yeah, Brian K. Vaughan, and the other is Noelle Stevenson. And funny enough, hopefully we're doing something with them. We'll see. Trying to reach out to them at the moment because I'm such a fan of how both of those, how they operate as writers and creators, and the way that they can both step back from the world and see it not as the kind of the constructs that we've been brought up with, but see it as the way they want it to be. That I think they're both dreamers and storytellers and just beautiful people. So yeah, those are my two from the comics world, And then lastly, Charlie Brooker, who is the creator of Black Mirror, amongst other things. Again, just everything the three of them, everything they do, I'm instantly on board.
Those are good ones. Nobody has said those, and I'm actually kind of surprised because I think Brian K. Vaughan would have been on my list. He might have been number 1, number 2 for me. So that's really, really a good call. What do you think is the best way that people can support creators right now during this pandemic?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that quite a lot. For artists, it's actually a lot easier. Most artists do commissions. Obviously, the COVID has been incredibly destructive to the comic industry at the moment, in what with the inability for most publishers to actually push out the normal work they're doing. Artists is not too difficult for them to survive. So if you want to support an artist, get in touch, see if they have pages they want to sell, see if they're up doing commissions, share their works online. For writers, it's much harder. When writers don't have a publisher behind the scenes, they can only work on their own projects that are generally unpaid with an uncertain future. And I don't have an answer for you, Rob, on that one, I must admit.
Okay, fair enough. The consensus that I've gotten from people is kind of the basic: follow them on social media, share where you can, make people aware of what they do. Yes. I try to look and see what's their back catalog and where can I buy from them directly. I have a lot of friends that are musicians, indie musicians, and it's the same thing. If they don't have something new out, it goes away. So I try to put a song up and then here's a link so you can go buy from my friend directly. It helps, but it's tricky when you're a writer. Our artists have it a little bit easier, although they do have to put in the work.
Yeah, not that easy, certainly. No. You should have answered the question. You had a much better answer than me.
Well, that's because I've talked to 30 people in the last week about this. So once again, the best place people can find your work is...
Yeah, definitely just social media for me. I'm on Instagram, Paul.Goodenough. I'm on Facebook, Paul.Goodenough. I'm on Twitter, Paul Goodenough. Any of the kind of the major social medias. I'm quite active online, mostly about kind of the environmental work I do, but I do smatter some of my personal projects in there too. So those are the 3 big ones for me.
Wonderful. And what's the best way to get in touch with you? Email, through social media? What do you think?
Social media. Yeah, again, so I'm very active. Facebook is the big one for me. So again, I keep most of my posts public, except from obviously the more personal stuff. I regularly check my messages. So if you all get in touch with me, just jump on there. I have got an author page as well, but to be honest, just add me personally. It's easier.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paul. This was really a treat for me. So thank you for being on, and remember to let me know when these projects are happening so we can spread the word, especially your environmental stuff. I want to put any links for that in the show notes as well. So anything you have, let me know. Okay?
Will do. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor.
Thank you, Paul. You can find Alley Chats on Facebook by searching for @AlleyChats. You can also visit us at our webpage, smgpods.com/AlleyChats, for links to all our episodes and other cool stuff. One easy way to support our show is to rate and review Alley Chats wherever you listen to your podcasts. Those ratings really help us out and help others find our show as well. Alley Chats is produced and edited by Rob Southgate for Southgate Media Group. Be sure to subscribe to Alley Chats because you definitely don't want to miss an episode. Thanks again to our affiliate sponsors, Hunt-A-Killer and Tweaked Audio. Links to them are on our webpage and in the show notes. This wouldn't be possible without them. Our theme song is by Benny and the No Goods. Check out their awesome music at bennyandthenogoods.bandcamp.com. If you're an artist or writer or creative type that would have a table at an artist alley and would like to be on Alley Chats, message us through the Facebook page or email us directly at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com and we'll set up an interview. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with another fantastic show.